recording our session. And so we here at Naspa are really excited to bring you Know Your Naspa, which is just a quick overview of the work that our association does. Again, my name is Jordana Taylor. I serve as the Associate Director for Recruitment, Engagement, and Volunteerism here at Naspa. I'm joined today by my colleague Danny, who will go ahead and introduce himself as well as the rest of our team.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Danny Anzueto. I'm also an Associate Director of Recruitment Engagement and Volunteerism with NASPA. Get to work with Jordana as well as Nathan Victoria, who's your Senior Director, and Colleen Doherty, who's our Coordinator.
We will be sending out the slides and this information as well, so you'll have a way to contact us with our emails. And today what we are going to go over are just a number of things that are on the screen with you right now, such as what it is that our members may need from us as an association, as well as all of the different areas that NASPA touches on a regular basis that some of you may be familiar with. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, this may be the first time that you're learning about our different areas, regions, and divisions. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to utilize the chat function on the bottom of your screen and type in any questions that you may have. We will also give some time at the end of this and open this up for any questions that you may have that you would like to ask us live. So one of the things that we like to start with is to talk a little bit about some of the reasons that people are joining our association or associations in general. A large number of folks who join professional associations do it primarily to network with others in the field. And we're very lucky here at NASPA that we have the opportunity to network with over 15,000 students and professionals within student affairs and higher education. This is a quick screen grab from the 2019 membership benchmarking report from a company called Marketing General Incorporated. And as you can see, the top reasons that most professionals and students join professional associations and organizations. Again, networking with others in the field is the top reason, as well as learning best practices in their profession, as well as accessing specialized and or current information. Here at NASPA, one of the things that we are always striving is to be sure to bring you the most up-to-date and current content for our profession. So we're always looking for ways to share best practices within our profession and higher education, as well as making sure that we have specialized and current information for you. And we do this through a number of ways, whether it's live events, virtual events such as this one, as well as our policy briefings through our public policy division. So a little bit about NASPA's history. NASPA's original acronym, the National Association of Student Personnel Advisors, fit really nicely when we were talking about NASPA as an association. But today we're known as NASPA, Student Affairs Professionals in Higher Education. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Danny to talk a little bit about the history of our association.
So we started originally in 1919. We're founded as the National Association of Deans and Advisors of Men, recognizing that that is where higher education originally started. Our first office was in Detroit. It opened in 1967. And we are grateful to have our first female elected NASPA president, who served as our board chair in 1976 with Alice Manicure. You might be familiar with our Manicure Symposium. In 1989, we started our NASPA Undergraduate Fellows Program. And in 1999, our membership totaled 8,000 individuals. Right now, we're over 16,000 and still growing. In 2008, our headquarters moved to Washington, D.C., where we now have over 70 professional staff who support NASPA efforts, initiatives, and members. And we continue to grow, as we see here in areas of research and policy, the advisory services, additional health, safety, and well-being initiatives, as well as new equity, inclusion, and social justice teams. So hopefully you're ready to engage by joining and considering NASPA as your home for your professional development.
So one of the things we wanted to highlight in this session is for those of you who are members or who have been longtime members, or even if you're new to the association, there are a number of member benefits that you are able to access. And if you are thinking about joining NASPA and you're thinking about the ways that this membership could bring value to the work that you are currently doing, here are some of the different ways that you can do so. And while we're waiting for the screen to go back up, one of the things I will note is that as NASPA members, not only will you have access to these resources that are highlighted on the screen right now, but again, as I mentioned, you have access to over 15,000 of your professional colleagues and students as well. So what are the big things that you have access to are our publications. NASPA has 3 scholarly journals and 2 online journals that we give our members access to. We also have a number of resources that we will go over in more detail later on, but we have everything from grants and scholarships for professionals to be able to attend events, as well as personalized communication, so that way you are getting exactly what it is that you need from the association in the time that you need it as well. We have member pricing on registrations for our events, as well as our online learning, and a number of networking opportunities. I mentioned that this afternoon we are going to be hosting a chatty hour, and I certainly hope that you and people on your campus and as well as your friends within the profession consider joining that. Virtually networking is certainly new for many folks, but we're hoping that this will be an opportunity for all of us to get together and to be able to share ways that we have been navigating some of these new normals here in our profession as we do things in a more virtual space. We also have, for our members, the opportunity to become volunteer leaders and serve in leadership positions within the association, as well as access to our numerous constituent groups. Dana will be talking about this in just a few moments, but we do have 7 regions across the United States, 2 global areas that encompasses a number of countries that we are that we have members from globally, 5 professional level groups, 3 institutional divisions, as well as 12 focus areas. And again, we have over 1,300 institutional members. Currently, we have over 15,000, nearing 16,000 members. I mentioned the 7 regions that we have in the United States, and as well as some of provinces in Canada, our global areas, as well as over 30 countries where we have professionals who are working both in student affairs as well as higher education.
Awesome, thanks, Jordana. And so to tell you a little bit more about where in the world NASPA is, share a little bit of information about our regions and areas. So as Jordana mentioned, we do have 7 regions. We divide the US and some areas in Canada and some other additional countries into 7 geographic regions. So region 1, 2, 3, 4 East, 4 West, 5, and region 6. Each region is led by a regional director who is elected by members in the region and has a regional advisory board. The regional director also sits on our national board of directors for NASPA. We also have our global areas, so LAC, Latin America and the Caribbean, and MENASA, Middle East, North Africa, and South Asia. Each one also has a global area director that's elected by members within that area and an advisory board. And both of these areas, as we talk about volunteers, are opportunities for you to get involved within the advisory board.
So now we're going to talk a little bit about some of our constituent groups from our knowledge communities, our research and policy division, as well as our various divisions and groups here at NASPA. We have what are called knowledge communities here at NASPA, and these are areas of specialized content or subject matters that are volunteer run and were suggested to us by volunteers as well. As you can see, we span really a wide range of areas in higher education as well as student affairs. One of the great things about joining a knowledge community is this will give you a chance to talk directly with those who are working in a functional area that you yourself are working at on campus. So if NASPA as an association feels a bit big when you're first starting off, this is an opportunity for you to really narrow down the number of people and the subject topics that you are interested in And that really comes from being part of a knowledge community. Another way to look at our knowledge communities is it's also a really great way to think about different areas within higher education that you perhaps want to become more involved in or you would like to become more knowledgeable about. So if you're interested in veteran services, or if you're interested in health and wellness promotion, and these are functional areas that you yourself do not have direct work in, or something that you haven't had a chance to really work directly in, but you're curious about it, or you're hoping to make a change career-wise and start working in a specific functional area that you may not have direct access to, this is a great way to network with professionals who are working there. We've added a number of new knowledge communities just in the last year, and so we are very excited at our growing number of KCs. We also have our Research and Public Policy division. It's one of our newer divisions at Naspa, although it has continued to grow over the years. One of the big, so these are sort of four big buckets, although there really are more to our Research and Public Policy division. But for today, I'd like to talk about these four. And be able to share some of this information with you. One of the big buckets within our Research and Public Policy division is the area of advocacy. And in terms of how we are delivering this information to our members, we do have a weekly policy blog. And for those of you who are interested in public policy and how that relates to higher education, I highly suggest that you check out our weekly policy blog. We'll be adding some links in the chat throughout this presentation so we can make sure to get that information to you. But our weekly policy blog is an opportunity for you to sort of hear about what is happening in the legislative space, in the policy space. And our colleagues who are delivering this information to you are doing it in a way that really makes it easy to understand. It's very easily digestible. And it's a great opportunity for you to sort of understand what's happening both state-wise, federally, in regards to higher education. NASPA also hosts a Student Affairs Day of Action for those who would like to do more work either on their campus or individually in regards to highlighting the needs of higher education. We also have advisory services that are available to student affairs practitioners that have opportunities to review and assess and share resources in order to enhance the practices of student affairs on your campus. One of our largest parts of our research and policy division as well is our Center for First Generation Student Success. This is an initiative with the Suter Foundation. So for those of you who are familiar with the center or are a First Forward institution yourself, we certainly hope that you are sharing the work that the center is doing and continues to do. But we certainly would like to welcome first generation students and professionals as well as allies to check out the work that the center is doing. And finally, we have Student Arc, which gives you some additional tools and insight into ways that institutions and staff and students themselves can think about ways to support students with emergency aid beyond just what may typically show up in, conversations such as food pantries. And so we're looking at other resources that can really help highlight the work that an institution can and should be doing in regards to emergency aid. These are some of our other divisions and groups. I'm going to turn it back over to Danny to talk a little bit about the work that they do.
So in many different ways, you're able to get involved with NASPA. Our divisions and groups are another spot where you can engage in different areas by focus area. So the Center for Women, our box initiatives, as Jordana mentioned as well, the Center for First Generation Student Success or Equity, Inclusion, and Social Justice are all topic areas that NASPA has some kind of division or group that's representing them. Each of these areas has leadership opportunities within them, has volunteer opportunities where they connect and engage throughout the year. So we highly recommend them as different ways for you to get connected to areas that you are either working in directly or have a particular interest in developing that work area. We also have them dedicated by professional level. So the James E. Scott Academy, our AVP Steering Committee, if you are a faculty member, part of the graduate associate program, or NUF, which is for our undergraduates, you're able to find professional homes that work with you as you grow in your career.
So one of the things I mentioned earlier in terms of benefits to our members are grants and scholarships. And one of the ways that NASPA as an association is able to do so is through partnership with the NASPA Foundation. The mission of the NASPA Foundation is to raise funds to advance NASPA's mission and legacy, and it is supported by these 4 guiding principles that you see on your screen right now, such as connecting the present with the future. You may have seen that as we celebrated 100 years last year and talked a little bit about NASPA's history in the first 100 years and what we're looking forward to in the next 100 years as well. Celebrating achievement, and we do that through our pillars of the profession as well as a number of awards. Supporting research and best practices, and again, if you can see under the highlights, that's through scholarships and grants. There are a number of grants that the foundation supports in order to help those who are doing really innovative practices on their campus or really innovative research as well as honoring history. For us here at NASPA, it's really important for us to understand the work that has already been done over the last 100 years in order to support the work that we're doing moving forward. So we do quite a number of things to advance our mission and legacy with the foundation. As I mentioned, the pillars of the profession, we have an annual campaign as well as Giving Tuesday. Some of you may be familiar with that, which is typically the Tuesday after Black Friday in November. And again, scholarships and grants. So if you're looking for ways to find funds for your professional development or your programs on campus, I highly suggest that you look into the work and the opportunities through the NASPA Foundation.
And through the work of all of our volunteers and leaders that we have, we do also want to recognize that achievement. So through our awards and scholarships, you're able to recognize yourself as a leader, recognize your colleagues, your supervisors, through many different processes that range from the state process, knowledge communities, divisions and group award, up to our NASPA annual and excellence awards. These are all ways to recognize achievements from your colleagues to ensure that they are getting the proper recognition for the work that they're doing. Some of them are programs awards, some of them are individual awards, and we were able to bring them all together and celebrate the work that they're doing. As we've mentioned with a lot of these areas, there is a lot of volunteer opportunities for you to connect. So Volunteer Central, you can learn more at naspa.org/volunteer, and you can scroll through and see all of the volunteer opportunities that are available. A lot of the areas that we've mentioned today have volunteer areas available through the NASPA Foundation, our awards, program reviewers, our knowledge communities, regions, and areas. They all are looking for volunteers to engage.
And as you all know, NASPA has a number of events that we host throughout the year. We have over 50 events, as well as our annual conference, which usually happens in March. But in addition to the work that we are doing in person for our events, we also have hundreds of online learning content as well as live briefings that are available. This virtual highlights, for example, is one of the ways that NASPA is able to bring content to you virtually in topics that we hope are timely as well as important to the work that you are doing within the profession. So we certainly encourage you to search for our events. While some of you may be working remotely, this may also be an opportunity for you to check out our online learning content. There are a number of free live briefings that are available there, as well as guided online sessions that you can join and use as professional development for yourself as well as for your staff. And as always, we do want you to connect with us. There are a number of ways to stay connected to NASPA via social media. At NASPA Tweets is probably one of the best ways to do so. If you are on Twitter and you want to talk about NASPA, to reach out to NASPA, to share things that you're doing with NASPA, at NASPA Tweets, I think is probably the best way to connect with us socially. As always, we are also on Facebook, so definitely join our Facebook page so that way you can get us up-to-date information on events and announcements that NASPA has. And we are also on Instagram, so be sure to tag at NASPA Pics if you'd like to share the work that you're doing, or share any pictures of yourself with other NASPA members as well. So you can always get a hold of our team here at NASPA by emailing us at engage@naspa.org. That's a great way to connect with us via email. You can also find all of our information on our NASPA homepage with our staff. But we do have some time before the start of our next session, which is the virtual job search. And I certainly hope many of you who are on this presentation right now stick around for the next part of this at 2:30. But Danny and I do have some time to answer any questions that you may have, so we'd love to open it up to any of you. Please feel free to enter any questions you may have in the chat, or if you'd like, feel free to get on video and talk to us live.
Awesome. While we wait for some questions to come through, I think it's always helpful to find a little connection for people to have an understanding of how we got to where we're at. So Giordano, you want to share a little bit about how you got connected to NASPA?
Absolutely. My pleasure. So I have been very fortunate to be part of the NASPA team for coming on 4 years, which is very exciting. But prior to NASPA, I worked at both a large private institution and a small private institution doing enrollment management work. And so while I was not directly associated with student affairs, I was working with student affairs professionals on both of the campuses I worked at, with everything from orientation to student leadership work. And so that was a really great way for me to be able to transition to working directly with student affairs professionals.
Awesome. I've been with NASPA for about 7 years now. I came from Miami, Florida, where I was at Florida International University. I was doing my undergrad and grad program there, and actually went through the placement exchange for my full-time position with NASPA. I've been working with NASPA now 4 years remotely, and I've had the opportunity to continue to work and serve the region. I see a few questions that have come through. So I'm starting an SA grad program in the fall and was a NUF mentee in my undergrad. What are some ways for me to continue my NASPA involvement in grad school? Giordano, you want to talk about GAP?
Well, Kerwin, I am excited to tell you that I happen to be the staff liaison for the Graduate Associate Program here at NASPA. Applications technically were supposed to open today, but that is being delayed just slightly as we've had to adjust a little bit of our schedules, but that will be posted both on Facebook as well as on our NASPA GAP Instagram, which is at NASPA grads. Sorry, I just had to think about that really quick. So that's one way to do it. We do have a graduate student membership, which is a great opportunity for you to utilize all of those member benefits, but obviously at a much lower price, considering that we understand that as graduate students, you certainly have a very different income than those who are coming in professional spaces. So I certainly would like to encourage you to stay part of NASPA as a graduate associate member. I would encourage you to apply to be a graduate associate program leader as well. And as I mentioned, we will be sharing the GAP application link shortly. And the other thing I would suggest is that if you started or you came through NASPA as enough, I think there are ways for you to continue becoming more involved by thinking about are there enough mentors, or is there enough that's coming from your grad school that you're going to be at? So one of the things that I've noticed a lot is that a lot of NUFs are on campuses where there are no NUFs that are coming into the program. So maybe you can find ways to encourage students to be NUFs as well.
Fantastic, thank you.
The other area that I would add is within our regional boards, some of them also have grad level representatives that sit on the regional board. And it's an opportunity, although it might seem scary, as I know I have a friend that was on a regional board as a grad student, sitting with a lot of vice presidents of student affairs around the room. She found that to be an incredibly insightful experience for what she looked for in her higher ed programs. There's also the new professionals and grad student KC as a way to get involved. And we said it's all of these, there's different ways to get engaged and connect.
Danny, I hope you don't mind, but I invited Rachel Novick, who is actually part of our Denver staff. We have a remote staff group that works out of Denver office, because Shane had asked questions about our Bacchus program. And so I was hoping that Rachel could just give us sort of like a 45-second elevator speech about the work that our health and well-being group does, as well as a little bit about Bacchus.
Yeah, so hopefully I can answer all of your questions. Bacchus is our old name. We're now considered more of the Health, Safety, and Wellbeing Initiative. So we work on all different aspects of health and safety and well-being within student affairs. Most of our team is comprised of individuals who did wellness, health promotion, sexual violence prevention, and peer education work and alcohol prevention work while on campus. And so all of those different topics are what we work on. We have our flagship programs are our Culture of Respect, which is our sexual violence prevention program, and our Certified Peer Educator training, which is a certification training for students. We also do lots of different programming on cannabis use, alcohol use, and pretty much any gamut of well-being. I don't know if that answers your question, or if anyone has questions for me, as I just jumped in here.
And Shane, feel free to unmute yourself if you'd like to ask any follow-up questions from what Rachel gave in her really great 45-second elevator speech on what our work does in regards to Bacchus. And Danny, I don't know if you have any additional information you'd like to share about our LEAD initiatives. And Shane, I can also get to your question on international members. Yes.
So our LEAD initiative is part of our, sorry, somebody just jump in? There we go, thank you, Rachel, appreciate that. Our LEAD initiative is part of our civic learning and democratic engagement work that we do, and is an opportunity for a campus to get involved in civic and democratic engagement as a whole entity. So you're able to actually apply to be a LEAD campus initiative and be a part of the program. It's been running for 7 years now, and it's something where we are able to join you with our public policy area and connect and engage with them there.
And Shane, as far as the best ways for international members to make the most, I think one of the great things that we have seen over the years is the emergence of student affairs as a profession becoming more professionalized and recognized internationally. So I think it's really important that if you are one of our international members, that you become part of these different knowledge communities, these divisions and groups, because those are the voices that are really going to help us understand your perspective and to be able to share that. So look for ways to get involved. We mentioned Volunteer Central is one of them. We'll be sure to get these links and this information out to as many of you as possible. But again, you can email us directly at engage@naspa.org if we weren't able to get to your question, because we are going to be starting here, well, just now on the virtual job search. And I know that there was another question that came in about ways that incoming student affairs grad students can kickstart their connections with NASPA. Again, I'd encourage you to email us again at engage@naspa.org with some of these individual questions. And then if you have time, do come back for our chatty hour, which starts this afternoon at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we will go into a number of these questions as well. And there'll be more of an open forum for you to ask us a lot of these different questions. So with that, I will turn it back over to Danny to bring us into our next session.
Perfect. And thanks so much to Jordana and Rachel for our guest appearance.